Hi, I'm Brian Bigelow, 5-time Kold Kutter ice racing national champion. I'm here today to show you how to properly install Ice Master liner using Kold Kutter ice racing screws. The easiest way to start to do this is to take your liner, ball it up in this type of fashion so it's got some spring to it and it actually will fall right in here. You put a little weight on it as you're sitting on it. Roll it in there. You'll notice there's still a bump in here. A lot of people will cut this out and actually break the radius. I prefer not to do that. All you have to do is give it a couple smacks with a hammer. The liner actually goes on the tire, expands to the outside. It's a tighter fit. These liners were made for these tires, so no cutting is necessary. After you have your liner inside your tire, the next thing you're going to do, you're going to be ready to actually install the studs. First thing that you have to make sure you're doing is this will be the back of the motorcycle. I'm sitting behind the back of the motorcycle, and the V pattern of this tire is directional. There is a right and a wrong way to stud this thing. So as you're sitting on it, you want the V pattern back to you, the arrow pointing towards yourself. So next, the easiest way to do this is to grab any of your Kold Kutter screws. They make them in multiple lengths. In this application, we're going to use is 1-inch lengths. This Ice Master liner will accept up to 1 1/4 inch. The first thing we will start right with the center lug, which is a perfectly square lug. The pattern that you do here is, there's many different patterns to use, but the most common is just a backwards triangle. So you will start with your first screw in. You will start it roughly at 0 degrees. You'll run it about 1/3 of the way in, cock it back to about 10 to 15 degrees, and finish it. And that's it. You will repeat this same process to the opposing corner, and then directly behind to form your V. Your center lug is done. This is your drive lug. This is going to be your straight forward traction, your straightaway lug, we will call it. Next, we will move over to the lug that it's going to be the next one over. This is going to be a lug that's going to be focused on both cornering and drive. It's going to be, you're still going to be leaned over when you use this. You will do the same type of thing. You will start at 0 degrees. Come back to 10 or 15 and run it in there. You will do this to the opposing corner. And that's it. This one will be here as you're coming out of the corner on the throttle. This will still be a drive screw, a forward bite, a throttle on screw. The next lug over is going to be the same design of lug, just a smaller concept of it. It serves the exact same purpose. 0 degrees, back to 10 to 15 degrees. One right next to it. That's all there is to it. These are all of your forward bite screws, all your throttle on screws. These are the only screws that will drive the motorcycle forward. After your drive screws are installed, we will continue working on the same 2 lugs. The center lug now is completely done. We'll work on these 2 lugs here. We will install screws behind the drive screws, behind the throttle on screws. These screws will be used as your braking screw. The first screw I'll put in will be a braking screw, which will actually be used with your foot on the brake pedal. That screw will go in, same deal, 0 degrees, pulled back to you about 20 degrees. That screw will help you slow the motorcycle down under rear braking. The next screw we will put in, very similar, 0 degrees, back to around 35 degrees. That screw is actually going to be a side bite screw. That'll keep the motorcycle from washing out or looping around on you. Those screws have nothing to do with forward drive. We will do the exact same thing in the lug next to it. 0 to around 30. and 0 to around 35 to 40 on this because we're getting farther over on the tire. This is going to be more of a security when the bike is leaned over in an off throttle position. So we'll continue the pattern over to the far left, which these are going to be complete off throttle screws, side bite only. And there'll be 4 in this lug here. And the 4th one. So you have your straightaway drive screws, you have your still turning drive screws with your braking screws behind them, and then your side bite screws here. This is a completed Kenda K335 that's been studded. Noticing that the center lug is what you're going to want to screw all the way around. You're going to want to do this lug, this lug, this lug, all the way around the tire. Reason of that being is if you start here and then go over here and then come back here and go over here, what happens is it will actually draw that Ice Master liner to one side of the tire, and when you go to do the right side of the tire, you will actually miss the liner, causing a flat tire. So center all the way around, the next lug over all the way around. That's going to be your best bet. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the slot, the screwdriver slot of the Kold Kutter ice racing screw. Very important that this is tuned correctly for optimum traction. The center screw, which is going to be straight line acceleration, you're going to want it turned with the slot horizontal. This will give you, it makes it look more like a paddle, and it's straight line traction and straight line braking. So the next lug we're working on is the lug next to the direct drive lug, which is going to also be a drive lug for traction, still coming out of the corner, still leaned over on an angle. This row of screws right here will go in at the same angle, the screwdriver slot we'll call it, at the same angle as the lug that's molded into the rubber. So nothing special, nothing fancy. Screwdriver slot lined up with the edge of the rubber. That's it. Moving with the screws behind the drive screws, this is going to be one of your braking screws, so your foot on the rear brake pedal. Same exact thing with the next lug over, the 3 drive screws or 2 drive screws, whatever you choose, across the front with the screwdriver slot parallel to the rubber lug. The screw right here, that will be 45 degrees off of this, and then this screw here, which is going to be another side bite screw, 90 degrees off of that. Moving over to the far left-hand side of the tire, both of these lugs here, the lug that accepted 4 screws and the lug that accepted 3 screws, we will be working off 90 degrees off of this screwdriver slot. So all of the screws will be turned with the slot facing this direction. And that is for off throttle, side bite, so the bike doesn't wash out. So the difference we have between these 2 tires here is these are 2 completed rear tires. This one here for oval track only, studded from the center to the left, and then also 1 lug over to the right for hole shots and if you have to make that little jog to the right off the starting line. The tire next to it, same exact concept, same angles, same theories, but rolled all the way to the right for a road course, left and right type application. These were both studded using Kold Kutter 1-inch screws, but multiple screw sizes are available that you can use in your ATV or motorcycle tires. Now that we've completed our rear tire, whether it's for left only or road course, we're moving on to our front. The 21-inch fronts can be a little bit tougher to install the Ice Master liner because of the sidewall height. There's not as much flex in this tire. So creating this double bubble effect lets you beat one in and the opposite, the opposing end in somewhat simultaneously, and that will actually let this liner be super tight to the tire, and it's definitely trickier. Don't get frustrated, but this is the way you'll do it. Here we have a 21-inch front tire studded for a left and right application. This tire, unlike the Kenda tire, is it's not directional, but the screws are directional. That being said, it doesn't matter which side you choose for the left or the right, you just have to screw it accordingly. The first thing we'll start with, just like the Kenda, is the center lug. We will start with this lug, and we will go all the way around with that lug. We will turn the slots, once again, horizontal, for straight line braking using a front brake. That is going to be all your stopping power. Moving over to the left, these screws go in 2 per lug. Everything on the front is 2 per lug, with the slot 90 degrees off of the center. So the slot, just like this, and all you're concerned with the front is side bite, the front end not pushing from you. And that's all controlled with the slot of the Kold Kutter screw. And you will use this pattern all the way over to the left and then all the way over to the right, the only difference with this tire being the center screw. When choosing the correct Kold Kutter screw for your application, first measure the height of their lug, this one here being a 1/2 inch tall. You can use either 1/2 inch or 5/8 in this particular tire. Remembering that the longer the screw you use, the longer the screw will stay in the tire. Kold Kutter makes screws from 3/8 of an inch all the way up to 1.5 inch, AMA legal screw, and their new Canadian screw with a 1/4 inch head for Canadian racing.